Do you or someone you know have a tendency to postpone tasks despite knowing that it may lead to negative consequences? Is this impacting your work, home life, or relationships? In today's episode, we are discussing procrastination, why some people procrastinate, what can be done to not put things off, and research that shows that moderate procrastination may not be a bad thing. Don't put off listening to this episode. See what I did there? Stick around.
Welcome to Tell Me More and Then Some.
I'm Alina.
And I'm Angeline.
Join us as we dive deep into the topics that fuel our conscious evolution and keep us learning as students of life.
We invite you to come along and share the ride. We hope you're empowered to learn and grow into the best and most authentic version of yourself. We're so happy you're here. Let's go. Procrastination is the act of delaying or postponing tasks or actions to a later time. And it often involves avoiding tasks that are perceived as difficult, unpleasant, or less immediately rewarding. This behavior leads to stress, guilt, or reduced productivity. And the majority of us can relate to the occasional delay in completing tasks, which is often situational. Speak to a student and the number may be drastically higher. Chronic procrastination, which is different from normal procrastination, is persistent and habitual pattern of delaying tasks, and it significantly impacts a person's daily life, responsibilities, and well-being. And unlike occasional procrastination, which most of us probably engage in, chronic procrastinators struggle with this behavior across various aspects of their lives, often leading to severe stress, anxiety, and reduced performance. And this persistent and habitual delay that affects multiple areas of life and well-being affects 15 to 20% of adults.
There's also something called precrastination. Curious to know if any of our listeners have heard of this. I certainly hadn't until we did the research. Precrastination is the tendency to complete tasks as soon as possible. So it's often at the expense of extra effort or inefficiency. And this behavior involves rushing to finish tasks quickly in an effort to reduce the mental load of having unfinished work, even if it means more physical effort. So let's talk about benefits. Yes, you heard me, the benefits of procrastination. So Adam Grant, an organizational psychologist and professor at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, and his colleagues conducted research indicating that procrastination can have a positive impact on creative thinking. In their research, participants who procrastinated on a task by engaging in another activity generated more creative ideas compared to those who started the task immediately. It is emphasized that moderate procrastination, not excessive delay, can enhance creativity. And this moderate procrastination provides a period for reflection and incubation of ideas, leading to more original solutions. Contrasting precrastinators, those who complete tasks as soon as possible, with procrastinators, the study found that precrastinators often miss out on the creative benefits that come from allowing ideas to marinate and evolve over time. Does any of this resonate with you, Angeline?
Yeah. It's funny. I had never heard of precrastinators before, and that is me to a T. Mm-hmm. And I think you know this.
I was like thinking of you the whole time. I'm like, oh my God, this is Angeline and me.
I know. Well, it's just, I think for someone that deals with, a healthy amount of anxiety and overwhelm, I find myself wanting to constantly check things off my list. And if I'm adding something that I know is a task I need to complete and I just have to hold it somewhere, it gives me, it makes me feel a lot more overwhelmed than if I just did it right then and there. But I can see what Adam Grant is saying in terms of that stifles my creativity, right? Mm-hmm. Because I don't allow ideas to marinate over time, et cetera. Especially, for example, when we prepare for this podcast, right? I know I'll take on one of the episodes and I'll do some research, et cetera. And I do it, and then I go back, and let's say I'm in the shower, I'm like, wait, I didn't talk about this. I didn't talk about that. Then I have to go back to it versus just thinking I checked it off my list and I'm done. So I haven't found that balance, but procrastination is a big, an area that I know I need to work on. I don't know. How about you?
I think there's benefits to both,
Yes.
right? Like, I think it depends, but turns out Adam Grant is a precrastinator, and like his colleague came to him and was like, wait a minute, I find that when I do postpone things a little bit, it allows for some creativity to come in. And I definitely resonate with that. Like, if I have a project due, I'm not one of those people that's like, let me just check it off my list.
Yeah.
I need to think about it. I need to think about it some more. I need to do some research.
Yeah.
I need to, like you, like I need to be in the shower where I do my best thinking.
Yeah.
And I'll write things down, but I won't complete the task, right? Like I'll write the ideas down and then I'll go back to it and then I'll revise it and I'll go back to it some more. And it really does allow for things to just incubate in my mind. And if I do just check it off my list, which there are times where I'm like, oh, I could just easily check this off. I get really irritated when a week down the line or weeks down the line, I'm like, oh man, this is a better solution. I should have waited before I implemented that solution at work or whatever, because I actually think I prefer this.
Right.
So, but again, I like that the key term here was moderate procrastination, right?
Yes.
Like, you don't want to take a year thinking of this, creative process or this creative idea, but it was refreshing to hear that, like, I'm not alone in my, I guess, creative process or in my decision-making skills, or when I'm trying to come up with a solution at work. That is what I do. And I find that my colleagues, some of them are procrastinators, right? And so it's just, it's interesting to know that exists, and that some of us fall within the procrastinating bucket and others fall into the moderate procrastinating bucket.
Right. Yeah. And I guess another example that just came up for me, a simple one. Let's say I want to reorganize my room, a room in the house. And if I know I'm doing that, I'll say, like, I'm doing that this weekend. This weekend it's happening on Saturday. Even though I'm not ready, I don't know what I'm exactly doing, I'll make the changes, excuse me. And then I'll go back and be like, I didn't think about the fact that I needed this space for X or this space for Y, right? And then I have to go back. So ultimately, I'm not achieving the ultimate goal, which was saving time and doing things as quick as possible. And that happens to me at work as well, where I can be very reactive to an email, for example, from a client. And I could have just taken time to think about what was the actual solution to respond with versus just wanting to check that email off of my list. So I can definitely see benefits to both.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So we want to talk about why we may procrastinate. And contrary to popular belief, procrastinating is not a time management issue. It's an emotion management issue. And that emotion is typically fear. And that's the fear of failure.
I love that. Can you say that again?
Yeah, of course. Contrary to popular belief, procrastinating is not a time management issue. It is an emotion management issue.
I just love that.
Yeah. And that emotion is typically fear, the fear of failure. The anxiety about, not meeting others' expectations, and this idea of delaying your tasks because you think you're going to be achieving this unrealistic standard of perfection. And we've talked about perfectionism before. Our society may view perfectionism as a positive thing. I know a lot of times people in interviews, when they ask you, what is your weakness? They'll say, I'm a perfectionist. It's actually not a good thing. And perfectionism is crippling and ultimately a fear of rejection and not being good enough. And imposter syndrome can also fit nicely in here. The other is low interest in the task. So it can be that you are just not interested in the task at hand, or you find it boring despite how important it is. And so you keep putting it off. Creating a mechanism here where you can reward yourself may be helpful in completing this task, which we'll talk about strategies in a little bit. And, planning better, et cetera, setting deadlines. There's also a term called sensation seeking, and that's when someone desires a challenge or excitement with a task. So working under intense time pressure before a deadline bodes better for them. And that is because, there's a lot more of a dopamine hit when you know that deadline is looming. So things like, if I'm not necessarily looking forward to getting ready for an event, I'll wait until the last minute to jump in the shower and get ready. And that for some reason makes it more exciting to me than having done it a couple hours ahead of time, etc.
Oh my God, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
I've even had one of my best friends tell me, like, I have problems. It really excites me to like do things last minute for like a party and just go out to the grocery store and get what I need, and just get it done just in the nick of time, right? Like,
Yes.
I think that might ring true for a lot of us.
Oh yeah. That's another reason. There's one more I want to just mention in terms of rebellion, and it's called revenge procrastination, and it's basically when you may resent authority, an authority figure of some sort. So let me give you an example here. There is something called sleep procrastination. My husband is really good at that. And there's something around, he makes comments around like, well, work takes up so much of my actual day. So I'm going to take as much time at night to do whatever I want to do and not go to bed on time, which obviously he's screwing himself at the end, but it's why a lot of people don't want to go to bed. It's almost this like, well, screw you, the man. Like I'm going to do what I want with my time that I have that I'm not giving to you.
I struggle with this.
Do you really?
Absolutely. I've gotten a lot better over the years, but my mom's like this. And she tells me stories of how, like, when she was a kid, she would just dread going to bed and she would try to delay the end of the day as much as possible. She didn't want the day to end.
Yeah.
And I swear it rubbed off on me. Like, she says that she'd always fall asleep with her books on her and, she hadn't changed yet. And her dad would always come in and be like, why do you do this? Go to sleep. And this is me. I still struggle with this sometimes on the weekends. Like during the week, I do it because I have to for work. And I'm like, okay, I need to get my sleep. But yeah, I there's something with not wanting the day to end. Like,
yeah. I mean, I get that. I understand it.
And putting it off, but it's not healthy. Because like even last night, I woke up at 2:30 in the morning with my clothes on, the book. Like, why do I do that? Right?
It's just, that's
not good.
No, it's suffering. That's suffering. But so, I can understand it. So I have empathy for you.
Thank you. So let's go through some strategies to overcome procrastination. So the first is to set clear goals. So for example, suppose you need to write a research paper. So instead of focusing on the entire paper, which may be really overwhelming, break it down into smaller tasks. So, research and gather resources, create an outline, write the introduction, write the body of the actual body. So like the actual paragraphs, write the conclusion, edit and proofread, and then from there, create an actual schedule. So for example, you can use like a planner or digital calendar, but you want to allocate specific times for each task. And so for instance, let's say, based on the things that I just mentioned, on Monday, you would research and gather resources for 2 hours, like give yourself an actual time block. And then on Tuesday, you're going to create the outline and write the introduction for 2 hours. Wednesday, you'll write the body paragraphs for 2 hours. Thursday, write the conclusion, and then perhaps edit and proofread for 2 hours. And then on Friday, go back and edit and proofread one last time. The next thing you want to do is eliminate distractions. An example here would be set up a dedicated workspace that is free from distractions like your phone or the television. You can turn off or silence your phone during work hours, or if you live with other people, maybe you can do like a do not disturb sign, and setting those healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
And then use rewards. So as an example, promise yourself a small reward after completing each task. So if you finish writing the introduction to the paper, for example, treat yourself to a favorite snack or a short break to watch an episode of your favorite TV show. I definitely do this.
Yeah.
especially if I'm just, dreading something, I'll be like, okay, Alina, just get this done. And then you could just sit down and relax and watch, an hour of your show or something like that.
That's interesting because I think I've done this unconsciously in that when I'm doing something, let's say work is almost over, but I have an hour left and I have to do something I completely dread. I just think about it. I'm like, okay, tonight you're going to be doing X or you're going on date night. Like that helps motivate me because I'm going to be doing it, but I know this is the one thing standing in the way of me doing it. So it's interesting. I probably am using rewards to get through completing something. I like that.
Even when like I remember talking to a friend of mine about this and she's like, God, how do you get yourself like motivated to work out, for example? I'm like, I always think about the way I feel after the workout. I don't focus on getting dressed, getting to the gym or getting to that yoga class. Because if you focus on that, that's really hard. So what I do is while I'm getting ready and heading there, I think about how I always feel after that workout.
Yeah.
And never have I ever said, oh, well, that was a bad idea. Or,
right.
Oh, I feel awful. I should have never done that. Never. No. Right. So rewards are great.
I'm going to say one more thing about the gym thing. There's a woman, Melissa Wood Health, that I follow. I like her a lot. Her line is, how bad do you want to feel good? And I think that's also like what you're doing, right? And like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to wake up. I don't want to get up. I don't want to get dressed. I don't want to drive to the class, etc. But that's how badly I want to feel the way I feel after I'm done. That's great. That's another beautiful reward.
And then you also want to seek support. So an example of this would be like find a study buddy or an accountability partner who can check in on your progress. You can agree to meet or call each other at the end of each day to discuss what you've accomplished and just encourage one another. I think you and I do a really nice job. Just even with this podcast, right? Like,
yes,
we've been working on this for over a year and planning and meeting and encouraging one another. And we continue to do that, right? Like, okay, by this date, we need to have this done and sort of holding one another accountable.
Yes.
It's really supportive.
Oh yeah. Especially like, this is a lot of work and we have other things going on. And I think even when I'm lacking motivation, you are there for me to talk through that, right? Like just having somebody, accountability partner wise, that's going to be supportive and encouraging in whatever it is you're working on is key to continuing to move forward.
Yeah. And then lastly, practice self-compassion. So if you miss a deadline or you fall behind, instead of, just being hard on yourself, acknowledge what you did manage to achieve and just plan how to catch up and remind yourself that progress, not perfection, is the goal. So I'm going to say that again. Progress, not perfection, is the goal. So for instance, if I didn't finish the entire section of a paper or outline today, but I did complete half of it, that's still progress, right? So reward yourself for that and don't beat yourself up.
Yeah. Yeah. Mel Robbins, if you haven't heard of her, she's a public speaker and coach. She continuously reinforces what she calls the 5-second rule. And that's, you're sitting on the couch and you don't want to get up to do that thing that you don't want to do. Saying out loud 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Apparently, there's research that shows that you are more likely to get up to do that thing. It's either to start that job application, work on the resume, call the doctor's office to make that appointment. And I even use that in the mornings when I don't feel like getting out of bed. I literally say it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'll just get up. So that's a strategy. Then there's something called temptation bundling, and that's from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, where he talks about doing something enjoyable while doing the thing that you don't necessarily enjoy doing. So folding laundry, even though that's something I do actually enjoy doing, folding laundry while watching your favorite show or listening to your favorite podcast gives you a higher likelihood to actually get the task done if possible.
Did you say you like folding laundry?
I love it.
What is wrong with you? Who likes folding laundry?
It makes me happy. I'm OCD, remember?
Oh my
It's one of my favorite acronyms. I know. And I love putting the dishwasher, stuff in the dishwasher away.
Yeah, and I was just going to add what you said about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think it's important to remember too that as humans, we avoid discomfort. Like our natural state, right, is to avoid discomfort.
Yes.
We want to be comfortable. We don't want to do things that are uncomfortable because it sucks.
Right.
It doesn't feel great.
No.
It can make you anxious. It can make you just all of the negative emotions involved in being uncomfortable, right? And so, like, there are most days we don't want to get out of bed. There are most days we don't want to go to the gym. There are most days we don't want to go to work, right? But we do it anyway.
Yeah.
And so it's really about just almost hacking your brain to do the thing that you want to do.
That's a good way to put it.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's good.
What else you got?
What else I got? Identity change. So a lot of us think and say things like, I'm a procrastinator. You are not a procrastinator. It's not an identity. It's a habit. So you can say something like, I engage in the habit of procrastination. I procrastinate sometimes, but not saying I'm a procrastinator can really help you overcome that. And again, that's from Atomic Habits, all around like the identity portion. He says things like exercising. I'm not a runner. I don't like running is a better way of saying it versus making it your identity. I'm a smoker or I'm an ex-smoker.
Mm-hmm.
Say, I don't smoke.
And even like what you say out loud or to yourself is what becomes you, right?
Yep.
So if you constantly say, well, I'm a procrastinator, guess what?
You're going to be a procrastinator.
Your brain and your body are going to follow suit.
That's
so
right.
Again, it's back to that like hacking. You just have to be really mindful that what you tell yourself is really what you become. And so if you don't want to be a procrastinator, stop telling yourself that you are.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Lastly, I'll just share, there's a phrase called eat the frog. I don't know where it came from. I just know for a long time I've been using it. And it's about choosing that thing that you're dreading the most and do it first. So if I have a long list of things, there's one thing on there that I know is going to be dreadful. I will do that first. And what I find is I become motivated after that because not only do I feel so accomplished after doing that, I also am more likely to be motivated after that because thinking that you can find motivation before action is going to set you up for disappointment because action is what leads to motivation.
Somebody on my team actually mentioned that just a few months ago. I had never heard of it.
Eat the frog?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And she was like, you want to eat the frog before it eats you or something like that.
And apparently frogs are dangerous now.
Essentially what you said, right? Like get that hardest thing out of the way in the morning, especially in the morning. And then that like really motivates you and
exactly
sets up your day for success. Well, understanding and addressing procrastination involves recognizing the underlying causes and implementing strategies to improve time management, motivation, and self-regulation skills. And we encourage you to take some time to reflect on areas where procrastination might be holding you back. And if overcoming these obstacles is important to you, we hope that some of the strategies that we've shared could help you overcome the barriers you're facing to achieve those goals. And we'd love for you to let us know on our latest Instagram post what other strategies that you use to deal with procrastination. We would just absolutely love to hear from you.
Yes, please share. All right. As we know, we like to end our episodes with something that's bringing us joy lately. And I'm going to go first because I thought of this morning as I was eating my cucumber, which is one of the first things I love eating in the mornings. I have a cucumber trick, and it has also changed Alina's life.
Life-changing.
And what it is, if you all know, if you love like mini cucumbers or Persian cucumbers get soggy very fast. And so what I learned from TikTok, again, TikTok, I learned so much from you. I have learned a way to keep your cucumbers fresh and crunchy and crisp for, I would say, almost 2 weeks in the refrigerator. And what you do is, as soon as you buy the cucumbers from the grocery store or the farmer's market, come home, rinse them really well with cold water, dry them, take a large bag, whether it's a silicone bag, a Ziploc bag, whatever it is, put a large paper towel in the bag, line up the cucumbers inside the bag, and then fold the paper towel on top, take the air out, and zip it up. I'm telling you, you will go in the fridge and grab a cucumber, and it's so crunchy and it's so good, and you will thank me.
I know. I think of you every morning. I do. I'm like, God, why didn't somebody send me this memo sooner?
So good.
It's so good. Like
Yeah.
I used to buy cucumbers and literally like within a few days, they were bad. I'm like, who can eat this many cucumbers this quickly? And now it's like a week will pass and I'm like, this is incredible. And I
Yeah.
literally share it with everyone I know.
I love that. I'm so glad.
So
Well, that's what's bringing me joy.
yeah.
Cucumbers. How about you?
I've been thinking a lot about being multilingual, not just bilingual, but multilingual.
Mm-hmm.
And not that we take it for granted, but I feel like I kind of forget what a gift that is until I mention it to someone or it comes up.
Yeah.
And there's always that reaction of, what? You speak how many languages?
Yeah.
It truly is a gift. And I know that both you and I have had the desire to learn to be more fluent in Spanish. I took Spanish in high school and in college. But it's just, language is this thing. It's a muscle that if you don't use it, you lose it. And unfortunately, I don't use Spanish very often and I'd like to. And I've done different things to try to like get my Spanish back to where it was. But I don't know. I'm really thinking I would love to devote some time and some classes to being more, proficient in Spanish.
Yeah.
And this gift that we really have to learn language quickly.
Yes.
Because we already speak multiple languages, right? Like we have more neuroplasticity as it relates to learning a language. And what a gift.
What a gift.
Yeah.
I love that.
So
I haven't thought about that. It's very impressive, I think, too. And it does something to your brain. I think growing up learning multiple languages, it's such a gift.
It is a gift.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy and joyful about that.
It's a good one. It's bringing you joy. It's bringing me joy too. Before we sign off, we'd love to ask you all for a favor. If you've been enjoying our show, we'd be incredibly grateful if you could take a quick moment to rate us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It goes a long way and it helps us spread the word and reach more listeners like you. And, for those that have already, we truly appreciate all of the love and support that you've shown us on the show. And with that, that's all we've got for you today. See you next time on Tell Me More and Then Some. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please rate and review to help us reach more listeners.
To learn more, make sure to follow us on all the socials at moreandthensomepod.
Join us for new episodes every Wednesday on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Until next time, stay curious, learn more, and talk about it.